name is Koriann and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be showing how I use my SVG pattern for my Cricut to cut out my appliques and apply them to make these shirts. So stay tuned.
So your first step is actually to find the design on Etsy. You can open up the Etsy app, type in Threads 360, SVG, Tackle, Twill, Mama, Embroidery design, and it should come up. If it doesn't, you can also look into the link, check out the description link, and it's there. That'll be much easier. All right, so there it is. So once you find the design, go through and be sure to look through the description. Make sure that the file type that you need for your embroidery machine is actually listed. Currently, I have DST, EXP, PES, HUS, TAP, GJEF, XXX, VIP, and VP3. I think I got them all. But just make sure that the file type that you need for your embroidery machine is listed, because I can't refund the designs because they're digital designs. So just make sure. Check out the stitch count. Make sure everything's good before you actually decide to purchase. You can also check out my social media website, Threads 360 and Facebook 360. So you can see more day-to-day of what I'm working on and stuff like that. If you used Etsy before, you kind of have an idea of how you have to download the designs and all that kind of stuff. So once you have it sorted into your file type onto your computer, the design and the sizes you want will kind of come up similar to this. It won't be these exact same colors, but the colors don't matter. You program the colors on your embroidery machine. So, and also included with the file bundle are the SVGs. So you can save them to wherever you save files at on your computer. I use Cricut Design Space because I have a Cricut Maker. And so once I just open up my design space and I find wherever I have my SVG files that corresponds with the embroidery file that I'll be using for my design. So if I'm using the 10-inch embroidery design, I need to make sure that I use the 10-inch SVG bundle. Then I just go in and I upload them into Cricut Design Space. Now when you upload them, it'll be blank, but the design is there, but for whatever reason, it shows up blank. Then you actually put it onto the canvas and just kind of, when you look at this file size, it'll show slightly bigger than what is actually on the, than what you think. Like say if you're using 10-inch, or we see this 9.22 inch here. And that's because I also make the design slightly larger than the placement line to give it a little bit more space to make sure you cover the entire area for the placement, if that all makes sense. So go ahead, save the design. I'm just going to do a test. I already have this saved on my machine, so I'm just doing a test. And then you can kind of move the letters around to whichever way that you want them to position. But make sure you do not select mirror. This is not a mirror image. Do not select mirror at all. Then after that, you'll just go ahead and click, was it make or something like that? I can't remember. Continue, sorry. So on this particular tutorial, you won't actually see my Cricut Maker come up because I didn't even have it connected and I didn't even realize it. But basically, if you use your Cricut, you already know how this part kind of works. Wait for your machine to connect. I always select tweed for mine. It's fabric, what I've always used. And then I put more pressure so that I can make sure that it cuts the applique out completely. And you won't see this part here, but now you just send it over to the machine will cut it. So this next part is probably pretty simple. Now we're just kind of prepping our supplies. I'm going to be using the Comfort Color shirt. This is actually going to be designed for the mini design, which the Mama and the mini are pretty much made the exact same way. I'll be using this leopard print. It's cotton fabric that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. Nothing fancy, but I'm a leopard girl. And then I'll also be using this heat and bond light. I actually got this from my mama's house. Hopefully she's not watching the video. But you can order this off of Amazon. I'll find the link for it and put it in the description. You can also, if you don't use a lot of heat and bond light, you can use smaller portions. You can purchase that from Hobby Lobby and also Amazon as well too. And then for my cutaway stabilizer, I'll also post a link for the product that I use in the description. And then also my hoop master frame, mighty hoop frame, I'm sorry. And I'll be using the 10 by 10 just because, it's a mini design. It's from for my daughter, so that size just works for us. I like to go ahead and prep everything, so I already have like my crease down the middle so I can know my midpoint and I'll see where I want my design to hit. I went ahead and cut out my fabric piece as well as my heat and bond light to go on the back of the fabric, and I will just be applying heat on the back of it to attach it to the back of my fabric. Hopefully that all makes sense. But I'm using my iron here because I was way too lazy to go heat up the heat press. I'm so sorry, y'all. I had already prepped all the other pieces, so I just used the iron. But let me tell you something. A heat press is so much easier and so much faster. So don't be lazy. Lazy man works twice as hard. So it took me twice as long, maybe 4 times as long to actually use the iron to get the heat and bond light to stick on the back of my my fabric applique. Once you have the heat and bond light on, you just attach it to your Cricut mat, and then just run it through the Cricut. Here I already have the applique cut out with my Cricut. I'm getting ready to take it off the mat to give you an idea of what it actually looks like. Y'all, my Cricut mat has been through some things. So I used some painter's tape to kind of make sure it holds it down good, because my mat, it needs to be cleaned and it's not as sticky as what it used to be. And I can't purchase more, but I really don't want to because it's like what I use it for. Anyway. But you can kind of just pull off the excess applique pieces that you do not need. And then you see it's all really cut out pretty well. Just kind of take the little individual pieces off, and then you see the paper is still on the back and on the mat. That's really the reason why my mat is so dirty all the time, because of leftover heat and bond like paper stuck to it. But this way for me is still so much easier than having to cut it by hand. Alright, once you get the applique piece set up, you don't have to do it in this exact order, but in the meantime, I already had my machine set up to run my placement stitch for my design. Once the placement stitch, which is it's 3 stitches on it, but once the placement is stitched, I just go through and I get my letters for my design and just kind of do a little quick check to make sure they all kind of fit. Because sometimes the I, especially if there's multiple of the same letter in the design, gets a little confusing to know exactly where it goes. But once I've done that, I go ahead and I just take the heat and bond light paper off the back of the design. Once the paper's off, you'll kind of see, like, it'll be like a little shiny on the back. See? And that's like the adhesive from the heat and bond light that'll help to stick your applique pieces down onto your fabric. So I just place each one where they're supposed to go. Now, here's the kicker. When you put it down, make sure you do not see any of the placement stitch on any part around the letter. Because that's just to make sure that the machine, when it goes back to do the tack down stitch, it hits every area of the design. So I make each letter or the design like 0.03, like a little bit bigger than the actual placement, just to make sure. And then I make the tack down and tackle twill / zigzag stitch a little thicker, because I do not like when my fabric pieces stick out of my design. So that's part of the reason why I started creating my own SVG files for my appliques and my own actual applique files, so I can do them the way that I like them and what's easier for me, because I'm really not a cut applique girl. So now and just go through and do the exact same thing for all the rest of the letters. I'm using a little bitty iron because that works best for me to apply them on. I also got it from my mom's house too, so I hope she's not watching this video. But that makes putting the applique pieces with the heat bond light on so much easier. Alright, now we have all the pieces on, so let's take a look. See how you see you don't see any of the placement stitch sticking outside. Make sure all the little pieces down too. You just want to make sure you have all the cut pieces like centered. Now just pop it back on my machine and let it stitch the tack down stitches. From this part on, it's mostly easy. All the hard work has been done. You just let the machine do the tack down stitch. It'll stitch around every last single design, and then the last zigzag stitch, and then that's it. And here we go. And as you can see, you don't see any extra pieces hanging outside of the tackle twill embroidery stitches. So no hand cutting, and that's everything.
Look at 2, 3, go! Ah! Look at